So, in line with that as well, we've heard, we've seen and we've read in the media about a lot of cross-capiting to the APC now. How do you think President Buhari should manage party affiliations and governance to prevent corruptive contaminations?
Political parties are bound to be open systems. And you can't say to somebody you can't join when the person professes that they would like to belong. The key thing is that the core values of that party set by those individuals who structured it are lived. Again, Peter Mendelsohn, in his speech going on still, makes the point fairly stoutly that one of the most important things that keep government together and effective is that they not forget the values, the ideas that brought them there, and working it strongly at the core. So you have, I'd imagine, all kinds of people, some of them pretenders to living in the values of that organization. But so long as the core remains effective and leadership remains clear and the goals are set based on those basic ideals, those others, you may be amazed, could even become reformed. I'd like to give people the example of the positions of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in the United States around issues of minorities and the well-being of the challenged. That Republican Party was the party of Abraham Lincoln. Republican Party was the party that fought against slavery. But somewhere along the line, a group of people in the Democratic Party chose new ideals. And a new clustering took place. And today, young people don't know that the Republicans were the party of freedom from slavery. People think it's Democrats that care about the weak, the poor, and the minorities. And Republicans are supposed to be the conservative elements that think of self and glory and old values and stuff like that. So it is possible for these things to happen in history, so long as the leadership has clear focus and continues to lead rather than allow itself to be polluted.
Let's quickly talk about the economy now. And one of the key message, in fact, of the APC was change. What does this mean for the economy, especially looking at the fact that there's been so much talk about diversifying the economy?
I'm sorry, was that to me?
Yes, Professor.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. I was distracted here. About diversifying the base of the economy.
Yes, especially since...
Sure. We don't have a choice. If we don't diversify the base of our economy, we are in serious trouble. Unfortunately for us, we have, for 30 years, talked about diversifying the base of our economy, but we paid this service to it because, revenues from oil just manages to keep government running, and so it doesn't matter and we don't do enough, but we can't afford not to do enough for a very simple reason: the youth bulge and the fact that we have so many unemployed young people, which is a sitting, ticking time bomb. And if we're going to get this economy running with employment to all of those people, we have to diversify the base of the economy.
So, Professor, what is the strategy? Professor, sorry to cut you here.
Yes.
What is the strategy of the APC administration to ensure that this happens?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to go through some very clear strategies. I'll give you an example. There are a number of sectors of the economy. I was just going to say before that, and this is important to this comment. The economy of Nigeria, as we have learned from the rebasing that took place last year, has actually been diversifying. The problem is that as it's been diversifying, the bulk of revenues have continued to flow mainly from oil and gas. So the agriculture sector, very little revenues flowing into government from it. What is going on with Nollywood and entertainment all of those areas of growth leakages. So we did not become as sensitive to how diversified the base of the economy was. Now that it is clearer to people, we have to institutionalize the process of ensuring that that diversification. Oh boy, this session just ended and my stuff are on the table. Maybe I can keep talking. And I am moderating the next session. But anyway, the point to make is that the mining sector is going to see a massive revival, in my expectation. That's going to be creating jobs. Infrastructure is going to be very key to opening up other sectors of the economy that have been held back. And the infrastructure deficit in our country, which is really, really so significant. And in most developing countries, about 60% of their revenues are flowing into infrastructure development. Most rapidly developing countries. Our infrastructure stock is at 25%. And we need massive opening up of territories through these investments in infrastructure, which not only create immediate jobs, but they then open up those sectors. So I say the new things that will be happening in agriculture, the new things that will happen in the mining sector, a sector that we are very strongly dependent on as a country in the 50s and 60s, but which has literally disappeared. Those sectors, I think, can be seen to drive this diversification, especially as education moves sectors like ICT and entertainment and go forward. We're going to see, in my hope and expectation, a broadening and a deepening of this process.
Well, Professor, hold on to your thoughts. Let me quickly come to Mr. Agbaje. Mr. Agbaje, just quickly comment on that if you can. Tie it in, to the fact that the country's revenue outlook is not particularly encouraging at this time. A lot of plans, that the Professor Utomi has actually reeled out. We're seeing, trying to open up the mining sector, agriculture, and the rest of it. But do you think that, this risk do not pose more than a huge challenge for the APC administration?
Well, they would have to be creative. The good thing is that you can use private capital. You can use private capital to develop solid minerals. The government doesn't have to put its money there. Get investors. If you're credible, you can use private capital to develop agro-processing. You can use private capital to develop a domestic refining and petrochemical sector. You can use private capital to build construction. There's a lot you can do. Even most of the infrastructure that you need in terms of rail, in terms of water transport, can be done with private capital. If you are willing to apply the discipline and you're really willing to do the marketing required to get private capital into that space.
Mr. Agbaje, thank you so much for your thoughts this morning on the program. And thank you also, Professor Pat Utomi, for joining me on the program and sharing your perspectives as well. We continue to monitor the situation and we'll get back to you in the course of the day.